We're going to move to item 9B, consider approval of an ordinance amending the 2018 annual budget to provide for year-end adjustments in selected departments. This will be our Finance Director, Ms. Elaine Altman.
Excuse me. This ordinance amends the 2018 budget for adjustments in selected departments. I provided detail for you of the ordinance, and attached to the ordinance is the specific detail. I can read all of it. I'll be happy to, like I did before.
Yeah, if you could do that, please.
Okay.
This is our first time to see this document tonight, correct?
Right, and
Okay.
the reason why, and it's because we're estimating year-end totals, the closer to the year-end, the more accurate we will be. So that's why we have such a quick turnaround. So the budget amendments are for general fund amendments, include police department, $56,145 for overtime expense. Fire department, $54,000 for salaries and vehicle repairs. Tourism and promotions department, $50,049 for electric services for the convention center. Parks and recreation, $47,735 for repairs and maintenance. And non-departmental expenses for $183,539, mostly for drag-up, liability insurance, health insurance, and cemetery maintenance. The general fund amendments total $391,468. The water and sewer fund, Fund 40 amendments are $750,000. These are for the tax notes that were approved earlier in the year for the sewer wash truck, sweep arm, and SCADA equipment. And that was financed. So actually, we'll only pay the interest on that. But this is something we have to do for the auditors. So the full $750,000 is in the amendment. We also have a street maintenance fund increase in budget of $23,826, and this is actually good news. We have a higher than anticipated sales tax, so we're allocating more money for streets. And then we're amending the EMS ESD fund for $169,223 for the 2018 ambulance that was purchased. And finally, we are amending the Police Special Projects Fund for $110,765 for motorcycles, crime scene scanner, and training and supplies that were purchased.
Which of these categories is currently over budget in spending?
All of these are over budget, but we do have some offsetting departments that are not over budget, so that will...
I understand. When the commission passes a budget, it would be my feeling that we're authorizing certain areas. And without additional authorization, money shouldn't be spent that hasn't been authorized.
But we authorized all
No.
of those expenditures. We did.
After the fact.
We authorized all those expenditures as they were made.
He's talking, Commissioner Holliday is talking about prior to spending the money, approval prior to spending the money. Is that,
But
is that correct,
how would we
Commissioner?
know how much overtime there was until there was overtime? How could we amend a budget? And that's the biggest expenditure that I wrote down. How could we amend a budget ahead of not knowing what overtime there was? I mean, to me, that's why we amend the budget at the end of the year. We look and see what happened, and
Well-
we move money from where we didn't need it to where we did.
Then we don't need to amend it if that's your case.
No.
Essentially, what you're making is the case that we approve spending of $34 million a year, and it doesn't matter where it's spent.
No. Okay, in my household budget, if I have $200 allotted for groceries and I only spend $180, but I've got $300 allotted for gasoline and I have to spend $320, I'm going to amend my budget, move that grocery money out and put it in gasoline. To me, that's what we're doing.
You have every right to do that with your household budget.
Well, don't we have the right to do that with the city?
But, well, beforehand is my contention. We need to amend the budget beforehand.
Well, my contention is that we don't, so that we need to watch our expenditure, as Mayor Curtis said. But I don't think we can anticipate a broken sweep arm until the sweep arm breaks.
Well, one thing,
Terry,
you
we
need to
can't
bear
hear
in
you.
mind, if any of this went over $50,000, we came to the commission, we had to,
Right,
by law, and
That's
we
right.
did. So I just want to make sure y'all know that.
exactly.
Well, and the street sweeper, not the sweeper, but
The
the
sweep
arm.
arm, the
The
sweep
arm,
arm.
whatever it's called, that was an emergency deal, was it not?
Just
When
like
y'all
the-
came to us, that was an emergency deal, and we approved it at that time. It was over 50,000, and we had to approve it. We wouldn't have to approve it, but it needed to be replaced at that time because it was an emergency.
Well, it's like the boiler, as we sit here and freeze.
So, and we knew we would have overtime, we'd have additional overtime in the police department, which typically has happened there in the past. Now, we have unfilled positions. What I'm not seeing here is how we anticipate we have unfilled positions in departments, which typically realizes some type of a savings inside of your city. So I'm getting what our costs are, but I'm not seeing how we're fulfilling in other areas of our budget, how we're covering these costs. Because these are anticipated. We know we're going to have overtime potentially we knew we would when they passed the new laws with the mental health. We knew we were going to have additional overtime expenses in the police department. We knew we were going to have some shortfalls somewhere, and so what I'm not seeing is how, where in our budget we have made up these revenues so that they can be paid out properly. And that's what I'm not seeing. Even with the sales tax revenue, what is the anticipated sales tax revenue that'll be coming in to offset these things? So, and I don't have those pieces. Do we have those pieces, or?
I think one example is the travel budget of the city commission. I don't think we've spent all that money.
Well, no, and typically our largest areas in sales tax, and it's also in positions that have not been filled. And there have been plenty of positions that weren't filled inside of our police department this year. I know our fire department has been understaffed for months, and typically we'll realize those savings, but we don't have those with us tonight. Is that?
I think the commission voted on the fire department earlier, and any savings from unfilled positions in the fire department is going back into their retirement, as I understood the vote.
That's not altogether correct. Only the portion that would have been designated to the pension fund, and that's the only amount by that position. So that would be, 18 or 19%.
Okay.
So when we're looking at these, we definitely want to to see where in every category we're realizing those revenues as well. Because right now, we anticipated these revenues, so we're going to be able to cover all of these things inside of our unspent revenues for this fiscal year.
I think we should be very close on,
Okay.
Ms. Altman's being very, very transparent this year in this. I want to make sure y'all understand that, because we've dug and dug and dug to try to make sure that y'all know where we are, because it's very important to me that we don't say, oh, okay, let's don't worry about that. We won't show them that this time. I've always told y'all we're all riding in the same boat. And I feel she did a very good job, and I really appreciate what you did, Elaine, because, you know, it's important that we see how much we spend. Because at the end of the year, one of my favorite sayings in the city, and I'm not being rude by not standing up, I'm just having a discussion, but one of my favorite sayings in the city for the last 20 years is nobody remembers in December. Because, you know, if we spend a lot of money in January for a sweep arm or whatever it is, then in December you're going, oh my God, you know, because we bought a backhoe or we've done something else. So, you know, we all need to, and I think there is some credence to what Doc says about doing your amendments as we go. We used to do that. There was a time when we did do that, but we've got away from it. The auditors got on to us. There was a time when we didn't do this. We didn't even do this. We just, at the end of the year, we just figured it all up, and that was the end of it. And Knuckles, Duval, and Hallam told us, no, that can't be that way. You have to come back and amend the budget. So I want to make sure y'all understand that she's done a very good job of doing this, because I asked her to please dig deep and make sure that, you know, and yes, it's probably on the higher side than it may should have been, but we want to make sure you know all of it, okay? That's very important. And yes, sales tax is coming in great. That's a good thing. So, yes, it's not all dark and bleak, but I think it does need to be said. You know, we need to watch how we spend our money.
You just made an interesting point. A lot of what you're doing now is upon the recommendation of our auditors, correct?
Absolutely.
All right,
and he'll be here in a minute, and I'm sure he'll
I was going to say, so we're
reiterate
not
that.
just willy-nilly. This is,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
I
absolutely.
felt like that was the case.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
Jack, when you talk about sales tax revenue, is this giving consideration to how much we're rebating?
Yes, sir. We do that rebate calculation. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Elaine, because I'm staying in my lane, but yes, sir. We do that calculation in this. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Because one day I walked in the office when we were doing that calculation, it kind of, that's a pretty sizable sum.
Well, I'm going to again make the motion. Since we've spent the money and we did know ahead of time that we were going to, I move that we amend the 2018 budget to provide for year-end adjustments in the departments as listed by our city secretary.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
All right. Record reflect that we had 5 ayes and 1 nay. Move to item 5C, is consider approval